Greetings, this is Father Michael with our word of the week. This week's word is rex, R-E-X. Rex is the Latin word for king, and when I say rex, the first thing that might pop into mind is the dinosaur. My nephew loves dinosaurs, and of course, who's the top dog of sauruses? The tyrannical one, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. He loves to play and to pantomime that great dinosaur. And why is that dinosaur so fearsome? Why is he called king? Because he's the most powerful, the most fearsome and ferocious. He is the king of all the dinosaurs precisely because he has the power to impose his will, to, in a sense, rule over all the others. And when we think about kingship, when we think about rule, we often think in terms of pure power, the ability to impose our will on another. To the extent that someone is king, it means that their will simply, by their own fiat, happens. And so when we celebrate this weekend, Christus Rex, Christ the King, we might seem to be emphasizing the fact that Jesus Christ has ultimate power and authority, that he has dominion and governorship and providence over all of the created universe, and we'd be right, except Christ's kingship has a surprising source. The source of Jesus' reign, of his sovereignty, is not his sheer power, his sheer will for what he desires, but it is rooted in the virtue of obedience. Christ reigns because he obeys. In the second reading, we hear St. Paul says, though he was in the form of God, Jesus did not deem equality with God something to be grasped. What did he do? He emptied himself and became obedient. Obedient to his Father's will. Took on the form of our own slavery, our own human likeness, born in human flesh. Jesus is obedient to his Father, and that is the source of his sovereignty. In the book of Daniel, we hear in the first reading, Daniel has this vision where he sees one like the Son of Man, revealed as the Messiah, the Anointed One, the Christus. After all, Christ is not Jesus' last name. It's a title for the one being anointed. And in this great vision, it's an apocalyptic, revealing vision, Daniel sees that the Son of Man comes into the great throne room where there's the Ancient One, the Ancient of Days, God the Father himself. And he comes how? How does the Son of Man come? Obediently. He comes as a servant to the Ancient One. And what is he gifted with? Dominion, power, governance. All of creation will serve him. In other words, Christ's sovereignty flows from his obedience, from his willingness to serve, so that in his willingness to serve, all nations will in turn serve him. In the gospel, Pilate is a bit confused about this source of power. Pilate knows what it means to govern, and he thinks kingship is simply about imposing one's will. And so when he questions Christ, you say that you're a king, Jesus clarifies, my kingship is not of this world. My kingship is rooted in service. We ask on this feast of Christus Rex, of Christ the King, that Christ might reign in our hearts, in our minds, in our lives, in order for us to truly have Christ reign, though we must, like him, obey. We must listen to the Ancient One. We must listen to God our Father, following his commands, being and anticipating his will in our life. For when we obey, then, along with Christ, we too will come into his kingly reign. Amen. Amen.